on Facebook, I'm a member of the Western Hights Preservation Society, and on there I came across this post, and it reads, "This is looking much better now, but there is a piece missing. The horizontal band with the pierced crosses is beyond my abilities to make, and so I'm looking into having it 3D printed. The balustrades are printed, but they did that at cost for me, as they can sell these items now. However, the pierced brickwork would be a one-off, and so the cost would be prohibitive. Is there anyone out there with access to a high-definition 3D printer that might be able to produce this at a reasonable price? The component measures 4.5mm by 72mm, and the pierced crosses would be 2.3mm in size. Let me know if you can help. Thanks." So I dropped Andy a message and said I'd have a go. Now, my printer's not what I would call a high definition 3D printer, but I said I'd have a go. Couldn't really find any quality close-ups of the area we needed, so I took my camera up to the heights and I took some photographs myself, and from this I managed to CAD up the part that we needed. Now, this wasn't an easy task. Brick by brick, it must have taken me a couple of weeks of evenings, but managed to get a decent CAD model, scaled it, 3D printed it, and I was really chuffed with the results. For those of you who don't know the what, where and hows of the Western Hights, they are built into the cliffs on the southwest of Dover. Now, Britain was at war with France in the late 1700s, and fear of a French invasion caused the military to build two sets of forts on either side of Dover. Now, on the western side, English Heritage owned part of the site, and as such the Western Hights Preservation Society is a group set up to look after and promote this part. Now, the part we're talking about was like a rear entrance to the fort on the north side, and effectively it was a bridge and tunnel network. Here you can see the road that originally went in at the top, curved in. You can see just the remains of the bridge, and then a path through, and I think there was another bridge there actually, and over another tunnel, and then there was a tunnel that came in. Now, this road was bypassed, I can't remember, 68, 70s, and they just cut through the whole thing. Didn't really care then, and it was understandable. Now, the portal entrance that we're talking about is just here. Let me bring you in for a better view. Now, this is all accessible. You can just drive by it, and it's all owned by English Heritage. Now, as you can see, the size of this really wasn't suitable for modern vehicles, and the citadel, which is the westernmost part of the Napoleonic works, was turned into a prison, and as such they just cut this road through. So back to the project. With the photographs, I was then able to work out how many crosses, and effectively what I would call noughts, there's noughts and crosses, the brick spacing, how many bricks were across it, how many bricks tall, and with that information I was able to build up an accurate representation of the facing of it. Now, it did take quite a bit of time, as I've said before, but I managed to get what, to me at least, looked like an extremely accurate model. As you can see, it's quite detailed, even to the fact that the mortar inlaid, but I was never quite sure how well this was going to print, because this is small. Looking at it on the screen, you've got no idea, but you'll see later on how small this really is. And Andy's measurements were pretty good. He's an experienced model maker and he knows his scales pretty well. So if you get a ruler or a tape measure out, you can compare them with what I'm going to tell you. So the mortar gap between the bricks is 0.12 of a millimetre. That's 0.12. Half a brick is 0.064. No, sorry, that's 0.64 millimetres. And a full brick is 1.41 millimetres. The width for the cross was 1.72 millimetres. And here comes the big numbers. Height 4.5 millimetres, 4.5 mil. And the big gun, total length 71 millimetres. So that's a reasonable length, but all the other measurements are so small. So once the model was all done in CAD work, I exported it to the slicer, which basically cuts the model up into loads and loads of little lines for the 3D printer. It's called G-code, which is a generic code which is used by CNC machines and all sorts. And a 3D printer is just a CNC machine. So this is in the slicer software, and I decided to print 3 of them in different orientations, because different orientations give you different results on the way that the finish ends. For instance, the printer width-wise can't do quite as well as it can height-wise. The height of every print I can narrow down to 0.12 of a millimetre, but width-wise on my printer can only do 0.4 of a millimetre, so I didn't think the one that was laying flat was going to work out very well. As it happens, they all printed out really well. I was really surprised. I was so chuffed. So this is sliced, and you can start to see all the little layers of print. The blue bit is, they call it a brim, which is just basically just helps it stick down to the print bed, stop it moving around. The green and yellow is just cool. They call it infill, because 3D prints are generally hollow. You can print them solid, but generally speaking are hollow, and this was, albeit not by much. So this is the 3D printer, and it's just laying down the brim. Now I know the size of my 3D printer. My 3D printer is not small by any means. It's quite a large 3D printer as they go. But this just looks so small on my print bed. And it was, the parts are very small. So I printed it in a white PLA. PLA is just a type of plastic. PLA is a starch-based plastic. So there we are, part of the way through the print. You can sort of make out the upright one. And final part. I left them attached to one another, and you could slice them as required. So yeah, really chuffed with the way that it came out. So these are just some photographs of the bits and pieces and some of Andy's other work. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll leave links to the Western Hights Preservation Society, English Heritage, blah blah blah, all in the description. Now, the Western Hights Preservation Society is always looking for members, for people to come along and help out. Obviously with the situation recently, it's been all clamped down and nothing much going on. But when things become lifted, I'm sure that they will be doing work groups and all sorts of bits and pieces up on the heights, and they're always looking for people to come along. And they do open days and events up there. It's well worth a look. Anyway, thanks for your time, thanks for watching. Please subscribe and join me on Facebook too. Ta-da. you.